In the next few weeks, Amara glowed a lot. Her glow and the love in her eyes could not be hidden. When she did the dishes, or arranged clothes, or even among her friends. Her friends began to ask her more about this mystery boyfriend of hers who made her this radiant. So one evening, Amara insisted I followed her to the cafe to meet her friends. I didn't quite like the idea, but I couldn't find any excuse to tell her why I wouldn't want to meet her friends. In any case, she almost literally dragged me there and introduced me to them. We shook hands and exchanged pleasantries. But one of them, Ngozi, had a suspicious look in her eyes. I smelled trouble. I noticed over the days after my meeting with her friends that Amara's heart was no longer steady and at ease with me. She still laughed with me, still clung to my hand when we walked home in the evenings, but there was a faint shadow of doubt, of questions in her eyes. Somehow, Ngozi's suspicion had found a way into her heart. I could feel it in the way she sometimes paused before answering me, or studied my face as though trying to read beyond the words I spoke. One day, when I went to see Amara, she looked into my eyes, with part smile and part trepidation, part hope and part fear. "Charlie," she whispered, "I'm carrying your child." The words pierced through me like sunlight breaking through a dark room. A child? Mine? How possible? I smiled at her and held her close, masking the heavy weight of responsibility that the news had dropped on me. "We'll have to tell my parents soon," she said. "They will want us to marry before the baby comes. And Charlie, I want to know your people too. It is time." I kissed her forehead, stalling. "Soon, Amara, soon. Let's just wait a little. Things are complicated." "Complicated?" She pulled back, searching my face. "What's so complicated about family? Or don't you love me enough to marry me?" I had no answer that wouldn't unravel my secret, but somehow I managed to convince her to wait till after the baby was born before we proceed with meeting both families and marrying properly. The months rolled on, baby growing within her, as questions also grew, especially after each of her meetings with Ngozi, who could no longer hide her suspicion and disdain for me. When her time was due one night, Ngozi and another friend of hers helped me get her to the hospital. I paced the hospital lobby, struggling between fear, hope, and inquisitiveness. Was a child born of me really going to come into this world, despite me being a ghost? Was I, Charlie, really going to have a child? Would it be a boy or a girl? What next after the child is born? Soon, amidst Amara's cries of labor pangs, the wails of a newborn pierced the air. The midwife stepped out, sweat on her brow, but a smile on her lips. "It's a boy," she said. We rushed inside where Amara lay, exhausted but smiling as she cradled the small bundle. Everyone was in awe as we saw the boy open and blink his tiny eyes. He was a spitting image of me. Events spiraled in the next few months. Having convinced Amara to wait for the baby to grow a bit before we go and see both our families, I made arrangements with my landlord to stand in for my father when we would go to see Amara's parents, with the excuse that my father was too old and sick to travel, and my mother was the only one caring for him, so she couldn't also come. Ngozi didn't like it, but there was nothing Amara could do. The meeting with Amara's family was brief, and instead of doing just an introduction, a quick low-key marriage rites fulfillment was done. When my landlord explained about my parents' absence, Amara's parents were overwhelmed by the fact that they had a grandson. The next was now to go and see my own parents. I sensed the end drawing near. The end of this adventure, this second life. I was beginning to feel that pull again, tugging within. The journey was a silent one, just me, Amara, and the baby at the back of a taxi we chattered. When we got to my compound after many hours on the road, Amara was more than relieved. "Please, head on to the house just there and knock. I'll be right behind you with the luggage," I said. My parents were surprised to see a beautiful young woman carrying her baby at their doorstep, alone. "Good afternoon, Mama," Amara greeted. "I am Charlie's wife. He's right behind," she was saying as she looked back towards where the taxi had been, but I had vanished. My mother could not believe her eyes. "Charlie's wife? My own Charlie?" She ran back inside, sobbing. My father was more composed. He welcomed a rather confused Amara inside with her baby, their grandson, and asked her to sit down. Word had quickly spread around, and a few neighbors trooped into the house while Amara narrated her story. When she was done, my father sighed heavily, then explained to her that their son, Charlie, had been found decomposing days after he went missing. Apparently, he had died in an accident. Amara wailed and fainted. My mother and all the other women joined in the weeping. Even children around couldn't help but cry. This was a really sad spectacle. The elders shook their head and sobbed. This type of things happen once in a while. Rare, yes, but it happens. They declared that there would be sacrifices that would make the spirits of the dead to be severed from the living so that the dead could find rest finally. They did the sacrifice as my parents accepted Amara and my child, who they named after me, Charlie, with whole hearts, and I finally found peace.